So, this is my friend Annika, and she is brand new to Reiki. So I thought what we would do is a before and after of how she's feeling and if she has any questions or anything like that before we begin. And then again, how she's feeling at the end and what her experience was like. So if you are curious about Reiki and what a session is like, then this will give you hopefully some information. So so you've never had a Reiki session before. Do you have any questions actually? Because we didn't really talk about this, and like I always do, I don't want to prepare too much. So this is live.
We're free flowing.
Yeah.
Is there any specific aftercare? Like, should I be drinking a lot of water?
I would suggest water.
Afterwards.
I would suggest water because the energy is like a flowing sort of thing. So it's not that you would, after workout, it's not like when you build up lactic acid, so you get like a soreness. It's not like that, but you still want to move that energy around. So drinking water is definitely a good idea. And even before, before leading up to your appointment, if you're going to see somebody, is to drink some water before. But being careful not to drink too much so that you don't feel like you have to go to the bathroom during.
Right.
So, and I always suggest to go to the bathroom before your session starts, and then that way you're just really comfortable. Another one that someone has brought up to me one time was about eating. And it's actually happened to me one time going to a Reiki share, and I didn't eat enough before I went. So we were all friends practicing on each other, but my belly was rumbling the whole time. So it's kind of nice to have a little bit of food in your stomach too before. Yeah.
Okay. That was actually my next question.
Okay. Yeah.
Would it be better to fast or to eat something, or
just to have a little, so that you're just for comfort purposes, right? Not really that you have to eat, just that, just so that you can lay for, usually a session is, because I usually do like a chat before and after. So all in all, it's about an hour, but lying on the table could be probably like 45-ish minutes. So just so that for that length of time for the appointment that you're comfortable. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So anything else?
What happens during assessment? Do I just totally lay still the whole time?
Pretty much. So what I usually do, and maybe we could do this a little bit, I'll think about it. But usually what I do is I get the client to lie down on the table. Annika's sitting on it right now. I can show it like a little bit. So usually what I do is I have the client lay their head on the pillow. I have another pillow down here that goes under their knees, just to help to relax your lower back. And then just to lie comfortably. I always sometimes maybe have too many blankets because I don't want people to get cold, but it depends on, I've had some people that just need like the single sheet over top and they're okay with that. And then I've had some clients that really we didn't speak the whole time during a session, just kind of like a massage, like sometimes when you get a massage, it could be a friend and you might be chatty the whole time, or you might want to be completely silent and just be in the moment. So there's no right or wrong, and every session is different. So if you feel more comfortable just kind of lying and, just zoning out and being comfortable, then that's totally cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then if I have anything that comes up, depending on the client, I had one the other day that a few little intuitive nudges had come in, but she was so like peaceful that I'm like, I'm going to wait until the end of the session. So I kind of feel it out too, like how the client is, how I'm perceiving the client to be on the table. Like if they, would like me to kind of speak up. But at that time we had been very quiet for a while, and I kind of didn't want to interrupt her peacefulness. So, but yeah. And then I've had some clients that we literally talked the whole time. So yeah, I don't know if that completely answered, but
Yeah.
you just lie there, basically. Do whatever you want. But short answer, that's what it is.
Right.
Anything else? Do you have any like reservations or anything, like any concerns or anything, or no? Okay.
Is it kind of different with every person as for like if you sensed a blockage somewhere, like sometimes you need to work on that for several sessions to move that out, or are there
You
other
could.
times where you can have like significant shift within one session?
Every session is completely different. And every person is different. So I've had like repeat clients that every session I've had with them were different. So sometimes it's and a lot of times it's sort of like sometimes the first session where there's a big emotional release, and then after that it's more kind of like a balance. But at that particular session they really needed what the energy really was helping them with was to get that all those emotions out that they were holding on to. I've had some clients that they thought they were actually going to be really emotional, but in reality what ended up happening was um, it was almost like it helped kind of close that emotional door, and they kind of had their next steps ready, what they were going to do next, right? So it's hard to say. Like every session is completely different, and I feel things differently in sessions too. Like sometimes um well, see, so this is the thing about Reiki is that you don't always, you don't really have, like, I don't need to manipulate it in any way. Like, even if I just had my hands on your head, the Reiki energy is going to go where it needs to go, right? So I really don't need to place my hands like down, all the way down to your feet necessarily. Um, there's definitely for your feet because that's a nice grounding spot, but so sometimes I don't always necessarily feel things as much as I kind of will see things. So, and every Reiki practitioner is different because everyone's intuition is different. So mine tends to be not that I always physically feel a blockage, um, but I might sort of see something. Like it's almost like I'll see it kind of like I don't know, almost like a clump of energy in a way, like it's not moving, like a density. That's the better word. I almost see it as like a density. But in terms of like chakras and stuff like that, it's not always that it's like the solar plexus or the heart. Like there could be a density over in someone's hip. Like it's not always localized like to chakras, right? But yeah, other people could definitely feel it. The other thing that happens to me, especially lately, is I will start to exhibit some symptoms prior to an appointment. So there's been lots of times that just for whatever reason, it's like within 15 minutes before the appointment, my heart will start to race and I'll start to like feel like a lot of anxiety. And then when my client comes in on the table, that's what they've been experiencing. So sometimes I'll get a little nudge in my body to tell me like look at their hip or look at their foot or something. So sometimes I'll feel it that way, but I don't always know what it means. So I'll ask a question. Yeah, and find out. So that's kind of the funny thing about intuition is that it's not always clear, but then asking questions is definitely helpful. So yeah. Long answer. Yeah. Okay, so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna let her lay down and get comfy. So I usually, like I said, I have blankets, I have everything all set up. It's similar to, well, it is a massage bed, so it is similar to a massage, but I usually don't ask my clients to flip over. I usually have them on their back the entire time. Now, if I had a client that wanted to flip over onto their back, totally could. Also different from a massage is that there's no need to like get undressed in any way for a Reiki session, like you're fully clothed. Um, but I usually have some music going and some essential oils going, and I'll dim the lighting to make it nice and cozy. So try to create a nice, peaceful atmosphere. And then, so what we'll do is I'll do her session, and then we'll check in at the end and see how she's doing. All right, so we are back. Annika's session is all done, and we just had a quick discussion if she wanted to sit up first and share with us, or kind of like a dream, almost like writing down in your dream journal and just share it right now without moving off the table or sitting up. So she's, we're gonna see how she felt after her session, and then I'll share what came up for me too. So, how are you feeling right now?
I feel very relaxed.
Mhm.
I felt pretty chill when I came in. Um, I felt, very mentally well and spiritually well. But I was telling Jen when I came in that, I still felt some heavy energy, like some tiredness from previous high stress things kind of stuck in my body. And
Here, I'm gonna switch over down to the side.
um, as soon as the first thing that we started with was placing your hands on the top of my head, and I immediately felt like a magnetic, like from my toes, everything just kind of went whoosh, like just very much like a magnet to a magnet kind of thing. And I felt like just a lot of, I don't know, electrical feelings like throughout, but mostly more at the beginning. Um, on the top of my head, I didn't really feel anything emotionally or any movement too much, but just kind of like energies just going everywhere. When you moved, she moved her hands to the back of my head. Um, there was kind of like a calming sensation of like things like starting to relax more. Um, I think it between forehead was like my forehead and in around my eyes felt like kind of I had a pain sensation, not overwhelming, but it felt like that pain you feel anywhere in your eyes if you feel like you're gonna cry, like if you are really upset and you just feel all this like pressure around your eyes kind of thing.
And you did.
And then
you were a little
when you went down to my jaw,
oh yeah.
I wasn't personally feeling afraid at all, and I wasn't thinking any fearful things, but I felt like a lot of fear stuck in my jaw, and it was like a kind of activating that and helping it um, release and move. Um, and at some point, or in my jaw, or even she even moved her hands down a little bit, um, shifted them. All of a sudden, same thing. I was not thinking any, sad or fearful thoughts or anything. I was just came in here fairly relaxed already, and my eyes just welled up, and I didn't have like full blown tears, but I had this massive like emotional release kind of thing. And I had like a few tears, but it was just all of a sudden I was like whoosh, like oh I'm gonna cry kind of thing, like without even thinking any sad thoughts or anything. Um, and I think you did that stuff with upper like on your collarbone, between collarbone and shoulders, and like underneath my shoulders I had a sensation of like just let go, like just um sometimes feeling overwhelmed, just a sensation of like just um just like you're okay, just relax and release, and you don't need to feel overwhelmed kind of thing. And it was like a comforting, just sort of I also had some sort of sensation personally of like a death and rebirth, like just the, almost like going in the grave and just like kind of being like I don't know how to say it. Just that was just what came up for me. Was
Okay.
like a just like a pressure of like just as if you not a death feeling in a bad way, but just like a
Like a
being held down
closing.
and yeah, and just like rest like death, but not a not in a
Okay.
not in a morbid way, but just like a just a
Okay.
final rest kind of thing.
Okay.
Um, and then at some point, um, I I didn't have my eyes open, but between my head and like chest, I think maybe your hands were hovering, and whenever the hands were hovering, it was that almost felt like it was like drawing it like a release. Like
Mm-hmm.
when the hands were on, it was like sometimes like pressure or intense emotion, and then when the hands were hovering, it was like a like relax, like
Oh, interesting.
drawing it out kind of thing. Um, and um, I think maybe you're hovering over like abdomen kind of thing. I could feel, sort of like a relaxing and letting go because I was telling Jen that I could sense some like tension and stress stuck in some internal organs, maybe liver, that kind of thing. So it just kind of helped draw that out a little bit. I still feel a certain amount of blockage, but it felt like it kind of helped like release that a little bit. Um, and with hips, I almost felt like starting to twitch or something, like a just kind of like a little bit of a emotional release, like a little stress release. Um, with my with placement of hands on my top of my arm and forearm, it was like a restful feeling, and I had an odd sensation with my hands
Mm-hmm.
that I had a like emotional thing where um I didn't mind Jen touching me. Like I never mind anybody touching me, but I didn't mind Jen touching me or holding my hand or anything. But I almost had a sensation of like that I'm not used to I don't know, like I don't like people helping me
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. And
Mm-hmm.
in the with the holding my hand, it was like the realization of like just letting people help you
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and like emotional support kind of thing.
It's like your first reaction was like some resistance in a way.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
wasn't resistance to her
Yeah.
personally touching me or holding my hand. It was like an emotional thing of like, oh, like, oh, somebody helping me and like, oh, do I want them to
Yeah. Yeah.
help me kind of thing. Um, and legs, and I felt something in my knees, almost like I think that we can hold, maybe I've held like some anger or frustration there. So it was kind of like a little bit of a release there, and like lower legs, feet, um, thighs. There was like kind of like a rest feeling, like just rest, and just like let the soul rest kind of thing. So um, yeah, a lot of like in waves, and sometimes they were quiet, and all of a sudden you'd have this big wave of something like with the
Wow.
crying. Like it was like I felt
Mm-hmm.
this pressure in my jaw, and then it was like nothing, and all of a sudden whoosh, like this
It's
big
like
sort
gone.
of like over. There was like
Okay.
waves of different feelings, different thoughts, different things coming up, different like energetic with each body part.
So what's interesting too, and like we said in the beginning, is that um every session can be different. Even if it's the same person, every session can be different. And now obviously Annika's very in tune with her body and all of those sensations. So even she's very highly sensitive in that sense, which is great. So if somebody wasn't as sensitive, that's still okay. um she is just very very in tune to everything that's,
Very
yeah,
energetically sensitive.
energetically sensitive, yeah.
Mhm.
So, and not every client is like that, and that's okay. So yeah, so that was very descriptive. Yeah, and most clients I have don't always describe things in that fashion. So, but I think it's very cool to hear and to have her share her perspective because, um, yeah, it's and like she said, these are things that came up. So even though I wasn't placing a pressure on her jaw, but energetically there was things coming up for her at her jaw, or same on the hand, like I'm not squeezing her hand or anything like this, but there's, because she's so in tune with herself and her energies and her emotions, it's like she immediately recognized what was coming up and could identify it right away. Yeah, I think that's really cool. And now one thing that I had, what came up for me was I noticed that I got itchy. I got little like itchy spots. And after about like the fifth or sixth time, I kind of like stopped and did a little itch like this. I brought it up to her because I wasn't sure if it was um, me or if maybe like it could be something that she's related, um, could relate to. And she shared that she has been a little bit itchy. And what it actually turned out to be, when we sort of unraveled it a little bit during the session, was um, more of like, so dry skin possibly, but more of like creating more time for self, and what was the other thing that we said? But more creating time for self, and like, because we're all like busy. We could be parents, we're employees, or we're business owners, or friends and family members and whatever. Like we always have lots of responsibilities. So what was coming up for me wasn't necessarily the itch being an issue, but more of like um, taking time for self and looking after herself, and almost in a sense of like creating a ritual. So say if she was to put lotion on her body and not just like slap it on and get ready and go help somebody else, like taking that time to actually like nurture herself was more what unraveled after we were talking. So yeah. And let's see, is there anything else?
Yeah, I kind of felt the itching. I kind of, for me, kind of also came up about almost healing, like just a lot of things that can happen in the body when you're healing, and it's almost similar to a wound healing kind of
That's
thing.
right.
Like the
Yeah.
itching that can.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like how yeah, exactly. When wounds are itching, or yeah, when wounds are itching, a lot of time they're like kind of at that point of of healing, right? Like it's almost all cleared up. It's that's, I find, like the last kind of phase, really.
Yeah.
So that could be, something else that she can look into for the next, few weeks or months or whatever, and see what comes up for that. Um, so, and like we had said in the beginning, I always recommend like having some water. I usually always check in with clients like within 48 hours just to see how they're doing and to check in. And it's important to note too that the Reiki energy hasn't stopped now. So this energy will still be like flowing and working in her system. Um, there's not really a set time period, but it's not finished. Like what I've done is finished, but she could feel some more shifts over the next couple of days, and now a shift doesn't mean like it doesn't necessarily mean something major, but it could be as simple as like she might pee a lot. Right? So it could be like a physical response to a release, that sort of thing. Um, yeah, like all kinds of different things. And Annika's very in tune, like we said. So she may notice the little tiny intricacies that are different, where maybe not everyone would notice something like that. But I think that's why you're such a great example, because you know what I mean? You can actually explain and understand and witness those occurrences like in the moment. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Where someone else might kind of totally forget and be like, why am I peeing so much? Or whatever it is, right? Um, yeah. So maybe what we could even do is check in together again, like within like in 2 days or something, and just do another quick little thing and see how you're feeling in 2 days. And if
Yeah.
anything, if there were any other shifts, or if you were just like, oh, everything was great and nothing happened and whatever, which is kind of common. So I think that's everything for me. Is there anything else that you wanted to share?
No, just that it would be interesting to check back in a couple or a few days and see.
Now, the other thing too is like it's also very common after the session. I often tell my clients, like, don't rush to get up, because again, it is really similar to like when you have a massage. It's like just take your time, and that's totally okay. And she's still obviously very comfortable, and that's good. So that's another important thing to note is like afterwards, what do you feel like now? Actually, before I put any words in anyone's mouth, like what are you feeling like right now?
I feel very similar to if you had been laying on the beach for a while in the sun, and you're like, it's really nice. Like, what time is it? Do I have to?
Okay. Yeah, so that's good. I think that's a good visual. Awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you so much. And we'll do another video in a couple of days, just a quickie to see how she's feeling.